Anytime there is a disparity between two groups of people, the easiest thing to do is to point out the external things. For example, this man is black, this man is white. This man is poor, this man is rich. Surely this man must be rich because he is white, and this one is poor because he's black. And so that then goes into, well, then that must be discrimination, racism, etc. That's the easiest sort of excuse to attribute it to. The more complex, or beyond complex, the more uncomfortable conversation is, what is the culture, i.e., what are the customs, or what is the mentality of each individual? Because when it's all said and done, we could talk about communities, society, etc., but it all comes down to the individual themselves. It all comes down to me and the things that I'm doing, and you and the things that you're doing. Hopefully they align and we do better for the whole, for the greater good, right? But we can never take away from the individual. So one man is believing something and is moving in either opposition to their greatest good or in alignment with their greatest good. And then the other's doing the exact same. And unfortunately, black folks, majoritively, there are, more individual cases, and I believe it's never been a better time for anybody to make it, but there's still a stronghold when it comes to black folk, or even quote unquote POCs, people of color. A lot of people are buying into this defeatist mindset, this victimhood mindset. And so it's not, I live in a terrible neighborhood, I'm going to build my way up. Me and my girl recently watched Gifted Hands. It's a movie about Ben Carson's life. A man who grew up in a single mother household, abject poverty. Mama couldn't even read, but she continued to foster the best elements of her children, to make them believe in themselves, to get them to read. The things she was picking up on, she was making sure she implemented with them, even though she was a maid cleaning houses her whole life. She ended up buying her own home and showing her kids, you can truly do this. And so her son ends up becoming one of the most renowned neurologists in the world. I mean, I'm talking about a man who quite literally revolutionized the space. And so you think to yourself, this man who grew up in a single mother household, basically in the projects or in a poor community, and mother built her way up and he built his way up from there. As a black man, surely he must, have been lucky, or because he's black. So there's no way that in his blackness he could have made it unless there was some other factor. And the reality is, no, he made it because he applied the knowledge that he was accumulating. He made it because his mindset was different. And there might be a white man who grew up in better circumstances who ended up worse off. And so I just wanted to essentially bring this video up to y'all, and also to watch it in real time for myself, explaining the differences between what this man sees when he is working in black neighborhoods or, urban areas compared to the suburbs or quote unquote white areas. So without further ado, let's get into.
People in rich neighborhoods get up really early and do right away. People in poor neighborhoods sleep in every morning. I used to cut lawns in rich neighborhoods, and I would cut in poor neighborhoods too. On my route, I had a rich neighborhood, and I was looking down in the backyards. There's people both sides of me, rinsing off their RV, walking their dog, reading the newspaper, doing some yoga in the backyard, right? So I finish that neighborhood and I drive.
Walking, jogging, biking, hiking. These are the facts. I have been around both. And I've spent enough time in the suburbs to know that you are always going to have people running, jogging, hiking, brunching, avocado toasting.
Back inland here in Michigan to a more poor neighborhood in a condo, and it was like 9 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday, and it was crickets because they were all still sleeping in. The point is, there are habits and tendencies that increase your likelihood of success, and one of them is simply taking action and being more productive with your time.
So yeah, I could hear it from here. Oh, but see, that's a white boy talking. That's a white man. He has white privilege. Okay, then let me talk to you as me, as a quote unquote young black man. My life has gotten significantly better financially, career-wise, even relationally, etc., when I finally stopped being a victim. Look, I was dead ass broke. Not even a year and a half ago. I'm talking about empty banks. I'm talking about looking and seeing that red number, withdrawn, too much, deficits. And now I have saved more money in the span of 6 months than I had in 6 years prior. I have done better financially in the last 6 months than I probably have in at least the last 3 years before that. That's just the God honest truth. And it didn't come as a result of me becoming white. I didn't change my skin color. My name never changed. The only thing that changed was my mentality. You know, even living in the first apartment that I got, I made a decision that I wanted to live in a place where, you know, I at least had some trees around me. I want to live in a nicer area, etc. I set those goals for myself and I worked towards those goals. And now I continue to do exactly that, to say, okay, I'm in a place that I don't want to be here for the rest of my life. But there's a difference between saying, well, this is just what it is. These are the cards that I've been dealt. And what can I do to change my situation? This is one of those topics that even people who, you know, might love my other messages, they still irk and cringe at, because it's still an easy excuse to blame classism, right? Oh, it's not racism. Okay. But it's classism. It's because the rich and the wealthy, and this disparity between the rich or the rich and the poor. There's a disparity between. I'm the type of guy who says, how do I get myself to that? If that's what I desire, right? Because envy is oftentimes what drives people to one or two places. You either become somebody who's resentful and bitter, or you are inspired and you start to do something different. I just happen to be the kind of guy who says to myself, if I'm envious, that means I want something different. If I want something different, how do I get that thing? Let me take notes from the people who have it. Let me take notes, as opposed to continuously either lying to myself about not wanting something better. You know, if I'm living in the hood, I'm living in the projects, I'm living in my little $300-400 a month apartment, rats and roaches. I'm got to look over my shoulder every 5-10 seconds. Head always on a swivel. How do I change my circumstances? And though I am not a fan of what hip hop has done overall, I can say that there have been aspirational or inspirational figures, not aspirational. Don't become one of these people, but inspiration as far as hustling from nothing to something. A lot of them lie, but you know, the likes of a Jay-Z, Mossy Projects, and coming from nothing, Dire Straits, and building something. 50 Cent, Get Rich or Die Trying, making things happen. And it doesn't mean you have to do it alone. And it doesn't mean that you have to do it in some sort of, you know, shady and shisty way. There are more legal ways to make money than there are legal ways. But you have to be somebody who is willing to accept personal accountability. Your environment is a direct byproduct of what you believe that you deserve. Let me run that back one more time. Your environment is a direct reflection of what you believe you deserve. Some people have never fixed their money mindset once. They've never looked over their own belief system about money. And so they blame. They pretend they don't care about money, even though they're waking up at times they don't want to wake up, to go to a place they don't want to go to do things they don't want to do, as opposed to planning, as opposed to being intentional, to give that up to somebody else. I'm just going to trust my life with somebody out there. I'm going to trust the boss. Then you hate the boss and you talk crazy about the boss, but you never leave the job. Every single one of us is going to go through something, or has gone through something. Every single one of us comes up with, against either it's a boss, employer, a client, or this or that, who's not messing with us. You know, I recently read about the creator of the Dyson, I guess it's the quote unquote Hoover, right? The vacuum cleaner, as well as the hair products, hairstyling products. I guess he does air conditioners and all types of stuff. Anyway, he had to go through more than 5,000 variations of a product to get to the one. Like, imagine going through 5,000 iterations to get to one that is successful. And then now that it's successful, you got to sell the hell out of that thing as well. You're either going to take a risk and you're going to invest in yourself, or you're going to give that up and allow somebody else to dictate the terms. But you can't have both. And so the lives that you're seeing in the suburbs versus in the hood are a direct reflection of those people, because they're dirt poor white folks in America, a lot of them. They're dirt poor, every single type of folks. But the difference between the two, because more than 80% of money is new money, is people who became wealthy. They're the first to become wealthy in their families. Because we love to make excuses. We love to fight for our limitations. He had money. He had a handout. He's a trust fund. Some people had less than you could imagine and still made it. Oh, well, maybe they were lucky because they were that poor. They had to. Look, you can either have what you have right now, which is your current circumstances, and your excuse. You can either have your excuses and keep where you are, or have the things that you desire, at least work towards those things. And figure out what it is you do best. That's what I had to do. What do I do best? What does the market value most from me? Oh, it's actually me when I engage, when I interact, when I use my ability to communicate messages that actually matter to me. And I'm able to speak to things that people are resonating with at a deeper level that maybe they can't communicate for themselves, or maybe they feel alone and they can't talk about these things to the people around them because they're surrounded by, these woke fools. I had to find what it is within myself to put out into the world, as opposed to looking out at my world and saying, what is the world going to do for me? What am I going to do for my world? And then my world changes. So the difference between the hood and the suburbs is in between your two ears. Appreciate you guys for tuning in. Now, if you'd like to stay around, make sure to click that little subscribe button down there, or you can show some love by going to the description below and clicking on the button titled Buy Me a Coffee. Leave a little something there, or click on the Cash App. Leave a little something here. Till the next time, peace.
I fell in love with the sunshine. I fell in love with the light. I fell in love with the full moon. I fell in love with the night. But I can see the light again. I can see the light. You can see the life in him illuminate the night. I know the time is taking. A 365, that's a full rotation. I see you looking up, you know them constellations. Constantly gazing like house of praises, you get to praising.